Mayor Pete's been declaring a win for days now. Why should people believe your victory speech over his?
Because I got 6,000 more votes. And from where I come, when you get 6,000 more votes, that's generally regarded to be the winner.
So Bernie Sanders has finally won Iowa, but DNC chair Tom Perez is trying to steal the headlines from him at the last second. So Bernie Sanders leads in the popular vote, in the first vote, in the realignment vote. So he leads in the popular vote overall. And then he's just down by 3 state delegate equivalents out of a possible 2,000. And as the last 3% were coming in, the last 3% that largely were satellite caucuses that Bernie Sanders dominated in and was expected to eventually overtake Pete Buttigieg in the state delegate equivalents, Tom Perez, DNC chair, put a halt to everything. Tweeting this out: "Enough is enough. In light of the problems that have emerged in the implementation of the delegate selection plan, and in order to assure public confidence in the results, I am calling on the Iowa Democratic Party to immediately begin a recanvass." So Bernie Sanders is about to overtake Pete Buttigieg in the state delegate equivalent. Already has the popular vote. And Tom Perez pulls this. All of a sudden, after days of issues, right as Sanders is about to win, now we have to stop and recanvass. Recanvass essentially meaning going over all the votes again. Now, yes, the results should be verified. So I would agree with, a recanvass here. But while the actual issues with the voting, I mean, I may have to cover this during my live stream because there's just way too much to it. So I may cover this during my live stream on Friday. But basically, people were recognizing that the numbers weren't adding up. So many of the people in the precincts that were involved in the caucus process, their results were not matching up with the results that the Iowa Democratic Party was reporting. And in almost every case, it was benefiting Pete Buttigieg and hurting Bernie Sanders. In one case, Deval Patrick, who people don't even know is running for president, he had a higher percentage of the vote than Andrew Yang did. And it was just enough of the vote to put Bernie Sanders behind of Pete Buttigieg. So again, I'll go over a lot of those discrepancies in my live stream. But essentially, yes, there are issues with the way it was counted. But it wasn't benefiting Sanders. It was benefiting Buttigieg until the very end when the satellite caucuses were coming in, which everyone knew overwhelmingly benefited Bernie Sanders. And that's when Tom Perez decided to halt the process. Now, on top of that, would you trust the DNC led by Tom Perez to really be able to verify the data, be able to verify who won, when we see how the DNC has treated Sanders and how Tom Perez specifically has treated Sanders in the past? So this came up during this whole, story about Tom Perez stopping this. This piece of news came back up, reminding people who Tom Perez is. So this was leaked from the Podesta emails back in 2017. This from WikiLeaks. New DNC chair Tom Perez wanted to, quote unquote, put a fork into Bernie Sanders' Latino support for Hillary Clinton. So this was one of the emails that leaked, again, back in 2017. This is from Tom Perez saying, "Congrats again. While I recognize that the mother lode is Texas, I'm very excited about Massachusetts. I know it is not done yet, but it is looking good. I also look forward to my appearance on Telemundo tomorrow, where I can trumpet her strong support among Latinos and put a fork once and for all in the false narrative about Bernie and Latinos. Congrats, Tom." So this is Tom Perez, back when he was helping Hillary Clinton. You trust this guy to verify the results in Iowa. I mean, clearly he is not impartial in this process. And on top of that, all the evidence shows you there's been problems in Iowa for days. Why would you stop the process now as Bernie Sanders is about to overtake Pete Buttigieg in state delegates? So here's the reasoning that leaked about why Perez stopped this. From Dan Merica. Perez took the step of calling for a recanvass specifically because of issues around how the Iowa Dem Party was allocating state delegate equivalents from satellite caucus sites. Two sources tell CNN. One source said the DNC wanted to get ahead of candidate recount calls. So the satellite caucuses, which again were dominated by Bernie Sanders, Tom Perez halted the process because Sanders was dominating there in the satellite caucuses and overtaking Pete Buttigieg in state delegates. How can you possibly trust Tom Perez and the DNC? This is why at every step you have to overwhelm the support for Bernie Sanders. You have to come out in huge numbers, make sure he wins by huge numbers, because it's impossible to know what insanity is happening behind the scenes. Jeff Weaver, and like this is the other angle to the satellite caucuses and why they are so important. So this from The Intercept. Jeff Weaver, a senior campaign advisor, said at a Sanders rally in New Hampshire on Tuesday night that he remained optimistic about winning not just the popular vote, but also the delegate count, citing success in the satellite caucuses. Quote, "If you look at satellite caucuses, we don't have final numbers yet. If you look at new Latino voters coming out in Iowa, new Muslim voters coming out in Iowa, caucus sites in union halls, that's part of this expansion of the electorate. It takes a while, but I'm very proud of the work we did helping underrepresented communities get represented in the caucus," Weaver said. So let's put this in context. Back in 2016, Tom Perez wanted to, quote unquote, put a fork in the idea that Sanders had Latino support. And now here is Tom Perez actively suppressing the Latino vote in Iowa, in addition to suppressing the vote of other marginalized communities. Unbelievable. And other reporters online are also recognizing the insanity of this. So here's Ryan Graham at The Intercept. "If this was Tom Perez's actual reason, this is nothing other than corrupt. I reported yesterday that the satellite caucuses could make the difference for Sanders. This didn't come out of nowhere. To order a recanvass because Sanders surged at satellites is staggering. Get over it." And the Sanders campaign also wasn't told about this. A senior aide to Bernie Sanders said his campaign did not get a heads up beforehand about Tom Perez's announcement. And the Iowa Democratic Party wasn't told either. No, the Iowa Democratic Party did not have advance warning that Tom Perez was calling for a recanvass of the Iowa caucus results. Two people familiar with the matter tell CNN. Perez didn't point out that the DNC has been running the show in Iowa for the last 48 hours. Oh yeah, that's another piece of the news. The DNC was already controlling the process. So, again, why would they stop this now when they could have stopped it 2 days ago? Could have done a recanvass 2 days ago. But no, they're doing it now, right at the end, as Sanders was about to win in state delegates on top of winning the popular vote. Now, this news will possibly get you down, make you depressed. But understand, Sanders won the state. He won the state. He got the most votes. He will have the most state delegate equivalents. He won the state. And 538 has a recent projection for Super Tuesday with Sanders winning every single state on Super Tuesday. Now, again, none of this is obviously in stone. You have to still stay engaged, vote, get involved, canvass, door knock, whatever. But we have the momentum. The Sanders campaign has the momentum. They can definitely win this. They are in the lead. They're the leader right now, easily. So even though all this news, all it shows you is that the establishment continues to be against Bernie Sanders. But that's why you have to work even harder to ensure that he wins. And this from Newsweek. Majority of Democratic voters, quote unquote, more likely to vote for Bernie Sanders after Iowa caucuses, new poll. So I'm going to go a little deeper into that poll during my live stream. But new information out shows us that people are now even more motivated to support Bernie Sanders after this entire Iowa caucus debacle. So again, continue the work on the ground. This is absolutely winnable. The energy is on the side of Bernie Sanders. Pete Buttigieg has no path to victory past the early states. So stay motivated, keep going, and we can absolutely pull this off.